Welcome back to the Bright Podcast. Everyone, I hope that you're having a fantastic day. Thank you for taking time out of your day to come and listen to me talk. And I hope that you're going to be encouraged by what we talk about today, but most importantly, I hope that you are encouraged by what the Bible has to say. So far this season, we've been looking at these different events, these real-life stories that have taken place from the Bible, and how water has been involved in every single one of them, but it truly wasn't the water or the people who, encountered the water, but that made an impact. But it was God who made the impact. How God was the one there with His power, truly showing His people who He truly was, so that His people would trust in Him. And now we're kind of flipping the scripts, not really, but kind of. We're moving into the New Testament and seeing how Jesus used water to show His power, to show that His way is better, to show that He truly is the Son of God, and to be an example for us. And we're going to be in John chapter 2 today, looking at when Jesus turned the water into wine. John chapter 2, very, very early in the ministry of Jesus, we see that Jesus and His disciples are at a wedding. So I'm going to read John chapter 2, verses 1 through 12. On the third day there was a wedding in Cana of Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Now both Jesus and His disciples were invited to the wedding. When they ran out of wine, the mother of Jesus said to Him, "They have no wine." And Jesus said to her, "Woman, what does your concern have to do with me? My hour has not yet come." His mother said to the servants, "Whatever He says to you, do it." Now there were set there 6 water pots of stone according to the manner of purification of the Jews, containing 20 or 30 gallons apiece. Jesus said to them, "Fill the water pots with water." And they filled them up to the brim, and He said to them, "Draw some of them out and take it to the master of the feast." And they took it. When the master of the feast had tasted the water that was made wine, and did not know where it came from, but the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom, and he said to him, "Every man at the beginning sets out the good wine, and when the guests have drunk, then the inferior. But you have kept the good wine until now." This is the beginning of the signs that Jesus did in Cana of Galilee, and manifested His glory, and His disciples believed in Him. And after this He went down to Capernaum, He and His mother, His brothers, and His disciples, and they did not stay there many days. I just want to point out just a few things here about why this is important and why this is special. Because, typically in these weddings that take place back in Jesus' time, these Jewish weddings, they're long. They're not just the one couple hours, at the wedding venue. They're long, time, at this wedding feast, this wedding, party, this gathering of people. So, they bring out the wine, and the good wine, they bring it out first. They start off, with their best guy up to the plate. They start off with the best wine so that people can drink that and they taste good. And then once they, have drank for a while and are getting tired and everything and don't really notice a whole lot of what's going on, then, that by that time the good wine has run out. So they have this less valuable wine that they can bring out, and that, the people won't truly notice that it's, that much of a difference. But something happened here at this wedding feast here, that these people, they just simply ran out of wine. And, it's not something you're supposed to do. You don't run out of wine at a wedding here, But Jesus, just happens to be at this wedding. And I don't know, Jesus probably knew that, he was going to eventually have to, start doing these miracles and everything. Did he know his first miracle was going to be turning water to wine? He probably did, but, we don't know. But what's just so fascinating to me is that Jesus doesn't just snap his fingers and the pots just magically, by his power, by God's power, just wine is sprouts into those pots. But no, Jesus says in verse 7, fill the water pots with water. And you might think, why would he just fill it with water? Why would he do that? Like, water, they're not going to drink the water. They would obviously know that they're drinking water and not wine, but they take the water out of the water pot and give it to the master of the feast, and he tastes this water, but it's now turned into wine. And he doesn't just spit it out on the ground. He doesn't start coughing because of how bad it is, but he says in verse 10, every man at the beginning sets out the good wine, and when the guests have well drunk, then the inferior. But you have kept the good wine until now. And that word good right there is something special, I think. Because for us, do we sometimes put forth our best looks, our best efforts on Sundays? Like at a wedding where they would put out their best wine first. So on the first day of the week, we're putting up our best effort. But then as the feast goes on, they bring out the worst, the inferior wine. But as our week goes on, are we putting out an inferior version of ourselves? But what Jesus does here is he flips the script on the wedding, where, typically they bring the good wine out and then later on the bad wine. But here, they brought what they thought was the good wine, but what Jesus made was better. And that's just the challenge for us is, instead of, it's great, put your best effort in on Sunday. Be there for worship, to worship and praise our God. That is great. Do that with your best of your ability every Sunday. But that's not where our lives stop. That's really where they just keep going. Our lives keep going after that. Where we need to put on, like how Jesus made his wine better, we need to make our lives better by living like Jesus did. Because without Jesus, this wedding would have been a total disaster. They would have ran out of wine and it would have been a whole riot. But, I just feel like sometimes in our lives when Jesus isn't a part of it, that there's not really a worry. I mean, maybe there is sometimes, but for me speaking, when Jesus isn't, in my life, at the forefront of my mind, at the center, the cornerstone of my life, there isn't like a sense of worry. There isn't a sense of, oh, this is a disaster, like this wedding would have been like, most likely. And that just needs to change, because what Jesus showed is that his way is better. He showed that what he can do is better than what man can do. Jesus showed that he is the only true good in the world. And to show that we can't truly do good unless we're doing it for the glory of God. And that it's up to us to be, as Christians, to be examples to those who haven't lived that good life with Jesus yet. And I mean, the master of the feast couldn't wait to tell everyone of how good this wine was. But for us, I feel like we wait a long time, or maybe we wait forever, to tell someone about the good news of Jesus Christ. And that's where I need to make a change. And I think we all deep down know that we all need to make a change. That, yeah, we put our best efforts, our best foot forward on Sunday morning when we go to worship God. But, Monday comes, we don't really feel like doing that anymore. Tuesday comes, we don't want to do that anymore. Wednesday, maybe we go to church on Wednesday night. Thursday comes, say, we don't, whatever. And then Friday, say, it's the weekend. I just get to chill and rest. Saturday, you got to watch football and chill and rest. And then there's Sunday, now we're back at it. Now we can put our best foot forward. But no. What Jesus showed here is that he took something as simple as water and turned it into something extraordinary. Jesus can take something as simple as our lives and turn them into an extraordinary life if we truly let him. I truly believe that. It's up to us, yes, to put our best foot forward on Sunday, but to put our best foot forward on Monday, our best foot forward on Tuesday, our best foot forward on Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday, and Saturday, every day of our lives. To put our best foot forward, to truly show others how good your life can be if you follow Jesus. And that's our challenge. It's not just give it our all and our best on Sunday, but to give it our all and to give it our best every single day. Because Jesus showed that you don't just have to bring the good wine out at the beginning, but if you have Jesus, you can bring the best wine out at the very end. And the good news for us is that Jesus can bring the best out of us no matter where you are in your life. Just remember that the good news of Jesus Christ makes this world a better place. And truly, we can make this world so good if we tell others how good Jesus has been to us.